Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnantimidandasya Jnananjanat Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Caitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juthapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Bitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Bitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaudangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavdeve Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. It is our great pleasure to welcome you to Sri Radha Gopinath Temple. We have this Sunday gathering every week. Today is quite special as it is the beginning of our preparations for next year's Gaur Purnima. In other words, it's the last day of this year's festival. In this beautiful prayer by Vasudev Ghosh, he is expressing not only what he has heard, not only what he has felt or read, but what he has directly seen. Vasudev Ghosh is one of the very confidential, personal associates of Lord Caitanya. We read about him and his brothers, Govinda Ghosh and Madhava Ghosh, in all of the great biographies of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, especially Vrindavan Das Thakur and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, describe these three brothers. They were especially very dear to the Lord. Some special effects to wake you up. This whole material existence is just a series of special effects to wake us up, ultimately. They were very dear to the Lord and all the devotees for the sweetness and the devotion of their kirtan, chanting Krishna's names. Whenever these three brothers would sing, Sri Vrindavan Dham would appear. Bhavadvida Bhagavatas Tirthabhuta Swayam Vibhu. Srimad Bhagavatam tells that wherever there is a person who loves the Lord, who loves Krishna, all the holy places are present there. Why is that? Because wherever the Lord is personally present, that is a holy place, that is a tirtha. And it is said that Krishna never steps a foot out of Vrindavan. But the great devotees, they carry Krishna always in their hearts. And Krishna is manifesting to them in their hearts. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hridesher junatishtati. Actually, Krishna is in the heart of every living being as the Paramatma. But yayatamam prapadyante. Krishna reveals himself according to the nature of our love, our surrender. So for those who offer love and devotion to Krishna with pure hearts, Krishna is always manifesting himself within the heart. And Krishna manifests himself through the world, to the world, through the hearts of his devotees. Therefore, wherever a devotee is, that place is Vrindavan. And Vasudev, Ghosh and his brothers, they would sing the glories of Vrindavan with so much love and so much devotion and so much sincerity that everyone's hearts would melt. When they would chant the name Radharani, Krishna and their associates, very challenging. Somehow or other. They would appear, and devotees could feel them. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he made Vasudev Ghosh and his brothers, every single year in Puri, the leaders of one of the 7 kirtan parties during Ratha Yatra. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would dance to his kirtan. In Navadvip, they were in the house of Srivas singing and dancing. They were intimate associates of Nityananda Prabhu. And we read when Lord Nityananda with his devotees went to Panihati, the Ghosh brothers led a kirtan that drove Nityananda Prabhu and everyone mad in the ecstasy of love. So Vasudev Ghosh has written many beautiful poems and prayers about his experiences with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They encapsulize the philosophy which is the essence of all knowledge and all Vedas. Krishna tells in Gita, Vedaishta sarver aham eva vedyo vedanta krit veda vedeva chaham. I am the author of the Vedas. I'm the compiler. And all the Vedas, ultimately, I am to be known. So Vasudev Dutt is talking about, singing about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the very essence of all knowledge. And Lord Chaitanya himself explained his purport to the word Mahajano Yena Gadasa Banda. That one cannot really understand the conclusions and the essence of all knowledge and how to attain it, no matter how much study we do. But when we observe and follow in the footsteps of the great souls, then it can be easily understood. Vasudev Dutt, all glories, he says to the dear son of Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi. All the three worlds offer prayers unto his lotus feet. In Nilachala he holds the conch shell, disc, club, and lotus flower, while in the town of Nadia he holds a sannyasi staff and water pot. It is said that in olden times, as Lord Ramchandra, he killed the demon Ravana. Then later, as Lord Krishna, he revealed the splendorously opulent pastimes of Goloka. Now he has come again as Lord Gauranga, the golden avatar, endowed with the ecstatic mood of Sri Radha, and has spread widely the chanting of the holy names, Hare Krishna. Vasudev Ghosh says, with folded hands, he who is Gaura is he who is Krishna, is he who is Jagannath. When Lord Chaitanya returned from Gaya, he manifested openly to the devotees the inner secrets and purpose of his descent into the world. He was deeply immersed in the highest mahabhav of the feelings of the love of Sri Radha for Krishna. Radha bhava duti suvalitam nomi Krishna swarup. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Krishna who came to search and taste the sweetness of the love of Radha. The knower of everything. There is one thing by his own inconceivable Lila that he doesn't know unless he takes the role of Radha herself to experience it. And not only that, but he came to distribute Radha's love to the world. Through this very simple process of sincerely, without duplicity, chanting the holy names. So much better than the cell phones. After some time, in the house of Srivas, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would perform kirtan with his devotees. First they started having kirtan all day. And one day Lord Chaitanya said to the devotees, "We are chanting all day, but night we are wasting in sleep. Human life is so precious, and every moment of human life is the most precious thing. From this day on, let us chant for the next 1 year, all night, every night. You do not sound very enthusiastic. But when the devotees heard that, they didn't think of, what about sleep? They didn't think about, if we're chanting all day and then we're chanting all night for 1 year? They were not making any material considerations. They just wanted to please the Lord. And they all were so very, very happy when he made that request. They all responded with a very tumultuous, enthusiastic Hari Bol. So they began these kirtans. And Lord Chaitanya would only allow the very, very most intimate, closest associates of his, who had no material desires whatsoever, to enter into these kirtans. The reason is because they were so deep that a person who had any desires based on the selfish ego, they could not appreciate, they could not understand. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was always in the role of a devotee, because he wanted to teach us by his example how to be a devotee. And knowing of past, present, and future, Lord Chaitanya saw at the time in India and how in the future it would be very fashionable to proclaim that I am God. That spiritual teachers would claim, I am God, and you are God, and everyone is God, and God is one. But Lord Chaitanya was teaching that true love of God can only be understood when we realize this achintya bheda bheda tattva. That we're inconceivably simultaneously one with God and different from God. Like the ray of a sun is one with the sun, it gives off heat and light. In quality, we are one with God. We are Satchit Ananda, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss, the eternal soul. But as the sun ray is only a little part of the sun, similarly, Mamaivam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. We are a fragmental part of Krishna, a sacred divine spark of God. And therefore, jivera swarupoi krishnera nityadas, the eternal nature of that spark, the soul, is we are servants of God. And that service is not it's not a limitation. Krishna did not create us in such a way to limit us, our potential. Krishna created us as jivas so that we could have the full experience of ecstatic love and taste God's ecstatic love and understand the ecstatic love between all jivas when our hearts are centered around watering the root of the tree, satisfying Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya, he was God, but he was acting like a devotee, and he was speaking as a devotee. And some of his devotees, from studying the scriptures and seeing his qualities, they understood, you are Krishna. And whenever anybody would say that, he would hold his ears, block his ears with his hands, and run away and cry out, Vishnu, Vishnu, do not contaminate my heart by calling me God. I am the eternal servant of the Lord. That was his spirit. His philosophy was not to be God. His philosophy was to love God And in loving God, to love every living being. That was the gift that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave. Haridas Thakur was always chanting God's names in the spirit of Lord Chaitanya. And somebody asked him, what is the goal of chanting Hare Krishna? Is the goal liberation, mukti? And Haridas Thakur said, the goal of the chanting of the holy names of the Lord is not to improve your materialistic life, even to the extent of elevation to higher planets. It is not to get yogic mystic powers to perform miracles before people's eyes. It is not even liberation. The goal of chanting the holy names of the Lord is to awaken the potential within all of us of prema bhakti, ecstatic love for Krishna, to realize the sweetness of Krishna's love for us, which is infinite, and to realize our infinite love for Krishna. That is the highest experience of happiness. That is the most inclusive form of liberation. And he said, liberation from suffering is a natural byproduct of one who experiences prema, pure love. That is the goal of the chanting of the holy names. That is the real benediction that Lord Chaitanya came to give us. But he wanted to teach us how to chant. So he took the role of a devotee. And he was so humble that he would serve all other devotees. He would see someone who had just washed their clothes, and he would pick up their clothes and carry it home for them. He would go to the Ganga and see sometimes people would be bathing in the Ganga, and Lord Chaitanya, this is after he manifested his Lila of the Sankirtan movement. He would bring their clothes, he would bring them tilak, he would serve them prasad. He would love to serve the devotees. Servant of the servant of the servant. And it was very difficult. Advaita Acharya, Lord Chaitanya would always go to touch his feet out of respect and honor. And Sri Advaita, this is my beloved Lord. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is Krishna. You can't touch my feet. I am your servant. And Advaita would try to touch Lord Chaitanya's feet, but Lord Chaitanya was very powerful. So Advaita could not ever touch his feet. But Lord Chaitanya would always touch Advaita's feet. Hare Krishna. When Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda tried to do that, usually they both won. But with Advaita, only Lord Chaitanya. This was his mood. I'm a devotee. Servant of the servant. But from time to time, when he would go into very high states of ecstasy, as everybody would dance and chant the holy names, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would fulfill their desires like a glimpse by revealing his original nature as Krishna. But there was one pastime which marks such a prominent place in the history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered into the mood of the Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, Krishna, for 21 consecutive hours, just to fulfill the desires of his devotees. It was in the house of Srivas. Like any other day, they were performing Nam Sankirtan, everyone was dancing, singing. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the role of a devotee, was dancing right among them, embracing them, weeping in tears of love, chanting God's names with their arms raised. Suddenly the Lord did something that he never did before. He he went right up to Srivas Thakur's altar and sat in the seat of Vishnu. In that seat were Shalagram Shilas. Lord Chaitanya picked up all the Shalagram Shilas. He sat on the seat and put the Shalagram Shilas on his lap. And the devotees had never been so happy. Our Lord, we want to serve Him, but He never accepts our service. They were praying, they were yearning, they were longing to serve the Lord to their heart's content, but He never accepted, because He was a devotee. He accepted in His heart, but not in form. But on this day, He was going to accept all of their services. And they looked at Him, and He looked at them, and He said, "Sing the bathing song." And they understood exactly what that meant. We can perform Abhishek for Lord Chaitanya. And they got barrels and buckets and pots of Ganga water, and they performed a beautiful Abhishek for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then they decorated his body with jewels and with garments. At that time he had very beautiful, long, curling hair. They offered arti. And then they started offering food. And whatever they offered, he immediately ate it. They offered him hundreds of pots of Ganga water, and within seconds he drank it all. Then they started bringing him pots of kheer and condensed milk and dahi. Instantly drank it. They brought him thousands of bananas within moments. The Lord was revealing, like at Govardhan, at the Anakuta. The Lord can accept any offerings, anywhere, at all times. He has unlimited capacity. You and me, try eating 1,000 gallons of Ganga water and 1,000 bananas. And then a few buckets of sweet rice and condensed milk. And tell me if you'll still be sitting on the throne. You'll probably be sitting on another kind of throne. Comes out, it comes out. So, the devotees were so happy. And Lord Chaitanya happened to see one very simple maidservant. Her name was Duki. Uneducated, extremely poor, unknown. She was just going to the Ganga and helping the devotees get the water. The devotees would get the water and bring it, and she would just be carrying the water and putting it in nice lines so that another devotee would take the water that she would place there and give it to another devotee who would give it to another devotee, and they would bathe Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya saw her and asked Srivas, who is this lady? And he said, her name is Dukhi. Dukhi means one who suffers. Usually in India, in those days, if someone lost several children and finally another child was born, they would call something like Dukhi, thinking that the god of death will feel sorry for this girl if she's named one who suffers and let her live. Something like that. Otherwise, why would you name your daughter Dukhi? So Srivas said, her name is Duki. And Lord Chaitanya saw that she was sincere. All she was doing is just, with love and devotion, trying to assist everyone else by making the water in a nice place for them. He said, this name, Duki, does not sit properly in my heart. From this day, I call her Suki. Which means happy one. But when he gave her the name Suki, he gave her ecstatic love of God simultaneously. Supremely happy. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to fulfill all the desires of all the devotees who were there. So he was calling on them one by one. It's actually a very long story, and we have a very small amount of time. So I'm just going to focus on a few events that happened. He turned to Gangadas Pandit, who when Lord Chaitanya was younger, Gangadas was his teacher. The Supreme Lord accepted a teacher, and Gangadas taught. He said, Gangadas, do you remember many years ago, the ruling party, they hated Hindus, and they were actually chasing after you and your family with the intent to torture, rape, and molest your wife and daughters. And you were running away from them. And you were trying to hide. And you ran and ran at night to the Ganga. And there was no boatman to take you away. And you knew they were coming. And there was nothing you could do. The Ganga was a very, very swift current. It would be impossible to swim across it. You were cornered. And when you heard that they were coming, you were weeping and crying. What's going to happen to my family? Worse than death. At that time, an old boatman appeared in a boat. And you, with a weeping voice, you said, boatman, please save me. Please give me shelter. Please give shelter to my family and carry me across the river. That boatman came out of nowhere in the middle of the night and took you across the river. Lord Chaitanya said, nobody knows this story, do they, Gangadas? But I do, because I was that boatman. I descended from the spiritual world in the guise of a boatman just to protect you and your family because you were crying my holy names with such sincerity.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
He looked to Advaitacharya and he said, please ask any benediction from me. I will give you anything. And Advaitacharya, he only said a sentence, but so meaningful. There could be volumes of purports to the sentence. He said, you have already fulfilled all my desires. Whatever I wanted, whatever I prayed for, I received. What does that mean? Advaitacharya prayed for years with tears for Krishna to appear into this world to spread Hari Kirtan and to give the world the opportunity to love Krishna, to spread the highest dharma. Because Lord Chaitanya appeared in this world, and now he had inaugurated the Sankirtan movement. And without discrimination, he was giving Krishna consciousness to everyone and anyone who would accept it. And he was completely now, he not only did that, but he always wanted to worship the Lord as God, but the Lord never allowed any devotee to do that. And now he's sitting on the throne of Vishnu. And he's allowing us to feed and to bathe. And he's giving the ultimate satisfaction to all the devotees. He said, you've already fulfilled my every prayer. I want nothing else from you. Then Lord Chaitanya said, bring Sridhar. Some people said, who was Sridhar? At that time, the devotees didn't know him. He said, you go to the edge of the town, Simantadweep, and there, Sridhar is living. Lord Chaitanya explained the life of Sridhar to all the devotees, and it's recorded in the scripture. He said, go there to the outskirts of town, because all night long he's loudly chanting Krishna's names. And the materialistic people around there, they don't like him at all. They think this is such hypocrisy. The man's in poverty and he's chanting Krishna's names. Is he just showing off his religion? And what nonsense. What is Krishna giving you? You're so poor. It's not out of devotion that he's chanting. This is what they would spread around and talk about. What to speak if they had newspapers or internets. They were spreading in all directions in that area. This Sridhar, he has no devotion. It's just that he's so hungry. His stomach is burning and he's screaming out the names of Hari due to hunger. They would chastise him. They would blaspheme him. Sometimes they'd throw an old rotten piece of fruit at him and say, eat and shut up. This is the way they treated. But he was such a saint that the Supreme Lord was longing for his association. Lord Chaitanya told all the devotees that when he was younger as Nimai Pandit, every day he would go to Kolavecha Sridhar's little place where he sold his banana products. He would take the trunk of a banana tree, he would buy it for really cheap, and he would cut it into many little pieces and sell it. That was how he made his living. Kola. Every now and then, he would get some bananas, and that was a treasure. And he would sell the bananas. Sometimes he would have banana leaves to sell for plates. Sometimes some banana flowers or some banana roots, which he would cut up and sell. And he would sell it for the least possible price, because he was feeling so deeply sympathy and concern for any customer that they shouldn't be inconvenienced by me. The Lord said he was as honest as Maharaj Yudhishthira. Sometimes business people will say, for you I make no profit. But they're usually not like Maharaj Yudhishthira. Whatever he would say would be totally honest truth. He had no ulterior motives. He had no attachments. He was so renounced. He would only make a very small amount of money every day. And as soon as he made the money, before he even went home with the money, he would take half of that and buy various offerings for Mother Ganga. And he would do his Ganga Puja. And whatever was left, he came home. He had a tiny one-room straw hut with no furniture and practically no possessions. He hardly had anything more than the tattered, torn clothes that he would wear. And he was very thin from not eating much. And every day, Nimai would come to his little banana selling place. And Nimai would say, how much are these banana leaves? How much are these banana roots? And oh, you have some bananas, how much are they? And he would give the least possible price that he could sustain himself. And Nimai would say, I will give you half. Why you are cheating me? He said, I'm not cheating you. This is a good price. He said, no, it is too much. I will give you half. They would, Nimai, every day, he loved Sridhar so much, just to give him his association and to receive his association. Nimai would come to argue the price of bananas every day for 3 hours. That's rasa. And at the end of the day, usually at the end of the argument, Lord Chaitanya would often just say, I will just take them for nothing. And he would pick them up and start walking away. And Sridhar would say, no, you can't just take them for nothing. And Lord Chaitanya, why are you becoming so violent with me? You are supposed to be gentle and renounced. Why are you so attached to these bananas? And Sridhar would say, no, if you want these bananas, please take these bananas. Lord Chaitanya said, you taking from me, don't you understand that you worship the Ganga every day? Don't you know who I am? Who am I? And Sridhar would say, you are a very learned Brahmin. He said, I am the Lord and Master of Mother Ganga. It is from me that she emanates. And Sridhar would say, you are so mischievous. You can say anything, but how can you say that? And Lord Chaitanya said, you are how can you say what you say? You wear all these clothes that look like they're all torn up, and you're tying knots to keep it together. You're chanting Krishna's name every day. What is Krishna doing for you? Look at your house. There are so many atheists out there, and so many agnostics, and so many worshippers of devas, and they have nice houses, and nice food, and nice clothes, and you don't have anything nice. What is Krishna doing for you? Sridhar, very humble. He said, in my life, I have seen. There is the king who has wonderful clothes, beautiful palace, eats fine foods. And there is the bird who lives in a little nest, who just eats some wild berries and just wears the same feathers every day. But I don't see that there's much of a difference between the life of a king and a bird, because in the passing of time, they're both enjoying some and suffering some and everything else. I'm tasting the nectar of Krishna. I'm happy. I don't need any of these things. Lord Chaitanya said, I'm going to expose your hypocrisy. You're pretending to be a poverty-stricken person selling bananas, but actually hidden you have great treasure of wealth. Sridhar said, I don't have anything hidden. What you see is what I am and what I have. There's nothing hidden. He said, I will reveal and expose you. And today I will take your bananas. He said, please take my bananas. Every day, like this, 3 hours. And Sridhar, knowing that Nimai would come, he would be looking down the little dusty path, waiting for Nimai. Oh, his heart would be pounding in expectation, anticipation. When will Nimai come to steal my bananas? He didn't know he was God. He had no clue that he was God, but he loved him as God. This was the beauty of the Lila. It is described by Lord Chaitanya that he was so insignificant and unknown in the town that nobody knew his name, Sridhar. They just called him Kolavecha, the banana seller. But Lord Chaitanya loved his bananas so much. He loved Sridhar's devotion so much that every single day he would eat his meals that Sachi Mata would cook for him on the banana leaf that Kolhavecha Sridhar would give him. And Kolhavecha Sridhar had this little thatched hut, and it was just made of straw, and every now and then a pumpkin would grow from his roof. And Kolhavecha Sridhar would run and give that pumpkin to Sachi Mata. And Lord Chaitanya would relish eating it. So the Lord said, go to the outskirts of town and bring Sridhar. They said, well, we don't know where he lives. He said, you don't have to know where he is. All you have to do is just sit down and listen. And you'll hear somebody loudly chanting, follow that sound, and you will find him. So it was night. And they went, and they heard Sridhar, just all alone, with such love, weeping in separation from his beloved Lord, crying out the holy names. And they went to his house. And by this time, Sridhar understood that Lord Chaitanya was the Supreme Lord Krishna, the Lord of his life. They said, Vishwambar, Lord Gauranga, is calling for you, Sridhar. Huh? He said, he's calling for me. Yes, he wants us to take you to him. Sridhar, he's calling for me? Why me? And he fell unconscious. That was his humility. This is a symptom of real devotion. Not that we expect mercy. If you expect something, you don't appreciate it when it comes. But if we feel ourselves unqualified when it comes, we are so grateful. And when we are grateful, we could actually receive it and digest it. So the devotees picked him up and helped to carry him to Srivasangam, several kilometers. And Sridhar, oh, can you imagine his happiness? He comes into the house of Srivas first time, and he sees Lord Chaitanya sitting on the throne of Vishnu. And Sridhar bows down, and Lord Chaitanya, as soon as he says him, he says, Sridhar. He said, see my opulence. And when Sridhar looked up at the Lord assumed the form of Krishna. He had a beautiful, beautiful complexion that was dark like the bark of a tamal tree. He had a beautiful peacock feather decorating his curling hair that was circling his beautiful moon-like face, his wonderful lotus-like eyes. Flower garland down to his knees. And the Lord was standing beside Lord Balaram, who had a beautiful white complexion, holding his plow and his club. And he saw the forest of Vrindavan with kadamba trees and tamal trees and banyan trees and beautiful parrots and birds and peacocks and cows. He saw gopas and gopis. He saw the spiritual world. And he saw Brahma and Shiva and Narada and Anantashesha and all the various primary devas singing beautiful prayers to glorify Krishna and Balaram. You see, Kolhavecha Sridhar is a cowherd boy in Krishna's Lila. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was revealing just the nature of his love. Kolhavecha Sridhar fell unconscious upon seeing this. And the Lord touched him and woke him up and said, Sridhar, offer prayers to me. Whatever's in your heart, speak it. And Sridhar said, how could I offer prayers? I have no education. I'm illiterate. I never studied Vedas. I don't know any prayers. Lord Chaitanya said, that is not a disqualification. Just speak what's in your heart. And Goddess Saraswati will appear on your tongue so that you could express the love of your heart perfectly. Ananyas chittayam domam yejana pariyupasate. Where there is sincere devotion, there are no impediments. So Sridhar just began to speak. Beautiful prayers. He described all glories to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Gauranga, you have descended into this world to bestow upon all the world the greatest treasure of the jewel of pure devotional service. Pure devotional service resides in your body. And you bestow that devotional service to those devotees who approach you and want nothing else. And the power of that devotional service that you give the devotees conquers even you. This is the most esoteric and beautiful of all truths. How you give the love to your devotees, and through that love, the devotees defeat you. And he gave many examples, Sridhar. Bhishma, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Bhishma defeated you. You made a promise before that battle, I will not lift a weapon and I will not fight. But Bhishma made a promise that he would make you break your promise, because he was about to defeat Arjuna and to protect your devotee. Konteya pratijanihi namena bhakta namash. In order to protect your devotee Arjuna, you were willing to break your own promise. Why? Sridhar said, just to show that I'm defeated by the love of my devotee, like Bhishma. Yashoda Mai, she bound you with a rope and tied you up. And you allowed her to do so just to show that you are bound, defeated by the love of your devotee. And Satyabhama, your wife in Dwarka, she treated you like a hen-pecked husband. She would say, Krishna, I want a parijata tree. You gave a parijata flower to Rukmini. I want a tree. There was only one parijata tree in Indra's kingdom. And Indra was really attached to that parijata tree. And there was a whole war over that parijata tree. You all know the story. Just to satisfy your wife, Satyabhama. Just to show the world that you are defeated by the love of your devotees. And the gopas, they wrestle with you. The little cowherd boys, and they win. And then to show the whole world that you have been defeated by your cowherd boy friends, you carry them on your shoulders in public. Every living being is carrying you within their hearts. And yet you are carrying your devotees, the little gopas like Sridama, on your shoulders. Just to show the world how you're conquered by bhakti. Devotees beg for this bhakti, and then they defeat you with that bhakti. Kalavecha Sridhar, he explained how the power of bhakti is it crushes all material illusion into powder. And then when the devotees dance in kirtan, the breeze created by their dancing blows that powder away forever. This is the power of the chanting of God's name.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
But if we want to attain that state that we're speaking about and access that power, we must very carefully hear the next part of this Lila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so satisfied with Sridhar. He said, I want to give you any benediction. Ask for anything. I will give you the wealth of a king. Sridhar said, I don't want. Simply a disturbance. I will give you elevation to higher planets. Sridhar said, I don't want to go anywhere else. The Lord said, I will give you the 8 mystic perfections, the siddhis, people, lifetimes of tapasya to gain even a fraction of 1 siddhi. I will give you all 8 mystic siddhis in full. Sridhar said, that will only agitate my mind. What do I need siddhis for? But you're so poor and you have nothing. I'll give you liberation. I'll give you elevation to the spiritual world. Sridhar said, I have no interest in any of these things. Lord Chaitanya said, ask for something. I want to give you something. And Sridhar said, I'm not a business person. I don't want anything for you. Just be peaceful. The Lord said, I am peaceful, but I want to give you something. He said, you want to make me happy? Sridhar said, that's what I live for. He said, well, what will make me happy is if you ask for something. I want to give you a benediction. Sridhar said, if you insist on giving me something, if that will make you happy, I only want to be the servant of the servant of the servant of your servants. I want to love you and remember you unconditionally. And let within my heart of hearts, wherever I may be, let me always be meditating and seeing that little boy Nimai coming to steal my bananas. Birth after birth after birth, wherever I might be, my Lord, please come to steal my bananas. When he said this from his heart, Lord Chaitanya began to cry. All the devotees began to cry. This is the nature of bhakti. Lord Chaitanya roared. He said, I give you pure, unalloyed devotional service to His highest perfect state forever. And anyone who hears this story about you with a sincere and faithful heart will receive the most precious treasure of pure love for Krishna. Hearing this, all the devotees lifted their arms and loudly cried, Jai, Jai. Jai, Jai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called Murari Gupta. He was sitting on the side. He said, Murari, look at me. And Murari looked at Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya had transformed his body into the form of Lord Ram. His body was the color of the durba grass. He was holding a bow with a quiver of arrows on his back. He was so beautiful. On his left side was beloved Sita. On his right was Lakshman. And then Murari Gupta saw all these armies of celestial monkeys all around Ram offering prayers. And then he happened to look down and saw that his body had a tail. And he fell unconscious. And Lord Chaitanya said, Arise, arise. He said, don't you remember? You do not remember, but now I am revealing to you. I am your beloved Ram. And just see, on this side, it's Lakshman. You went great distance and picked up the Gandhamadana mountain to cure him from his injury. And here is Sita. You wept oceans of, a shoreless ocean of tears to see her anguish when she was under the captivity of Ravana. I am your beloved. And you are my eternal servant, birth after birth. You are Hanuman. Murari Gupta was overwhelmed. The Lord revealed his true identity as Hanumanji. The Lord asked him to ask for a benediction. Murari Gupta, he said, I do not want anything. Just give me the power to always sing your glories. Give me only the benediction that I never forget you. That birth after birth after birth, you are always my master and I am always your servant. And wherever I may be, just give me this one boon, that I will have the company of those people who consider you their master and who consider themselves your servant. Let me just be the servant of your servants. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he told with all the devotees with so much emotion. He said the reason his name is Murari Gupta, because he appears to be like an ordinary householder with a family, and he appears to be an ordinary doctor. He was an Ayurvedic doctor. And he's crushing herbs and roots and making medicines. But actually, although he's so humble, with no pretension, in his heart, Murari, Krishna, is always hidden, Gupta. But today we have revealed the truth of Murari Gupta's heart. Murari Gupta, I give you this benediction. You will always be with me, and you will always be more dear to the very life of all of the devotees. All the devotees seeing this. You see, a devotee's joy is to see others getting blessings. In the material world, we want things for ourselves. But there is a happiness so far beyond the happiness of getting what you want. And that's to see other people getting blessed. To the degree we find happiness in seeing other people get blessings, to seeing other people being empowered, to that degree we're going to really be very dear to Krishna. In the material state, we become arrogant if we're better than someone else. We become envious or depressed if we're less than someone else. But in bhakti, real bhakti, we find the greatest happiness in seeing others receiving blessings, others excelling in what they're doing, others being empowered by Krishna. So all the devotees, they were in the highest happiness, just seeing each other getting all their desires fulfilled. Anyone who hears the story of Murari Gupta gets pure devotional service to Lord Krishna. If we hear with faith and sincerity. Then Lord Chaitanya looked across the room and saw Haridas Thakur. And he cried out, Haridas, your body is better than mine. You don't remember. You don't remember what happened, but I remember. Many years ago, you were took prisoner by the king and the qazis. And even though you were born of an untouchable family, you were chanting Krishna's names. Because you were doing that, so many caste Brahmins hated you. And so many people of other religions who were ruling at the time hated you. But the sincere people, they loved you. Chanting 300,000 names every day with such humility and devotion. Whoever saw you, if they didn't hate you, if their hearts were even slightly receptive, they would be transformed. You're brought to the ruler and told, either you give up this chanting of Krishna's names or you will be beaten and tortured till death. And Haridas said, he laughed. He laughed. He said, there's one God. He has different names and different religions. Somehow that one God has attracted me like in the beautiful, beautiful form of Krishna. And I could never give him up. And I could never give up chanting his names. And I could never give up sharing my love for Krishna with the world. Even if you cut my body into millions of pieces, every piece will be spreading the glories of your holy name. The king looked at the executioners and said, take this animal and beat him till he's dead. Lord Chaitanya said they beat you in 22 marketplaces with whips, dragging you by the hair, kicking you, spitting on you, in front of the whole public. And all the while, you were just praying, my Lord, please forgive them. I could not tolerate this. I descended from the spiritual world to kill these men who were torturing you. I took my Sudarshan chakra to sever their heads. But at the same time, you were praying, my Lord, if ever I've done anything to please you, I only want one boon. Forgive these people. Give them your love and your mercy. He said, I couldn't harm them because I didn't want to displease you. In fact, my Sudarshan chakra became powerless because of the power of your forgiveness. So I couldn't do anything to them. So I personally laid my own body over yours so that you would not die from these beatings. And I took the beatings myself. Just see. And Lord Chaitanya revealed to Haridas and all the devotees all the whip marks on his own body. Haridas Thakur fainted in ecstatic gratitude. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu yearns to serve his servants. He said, rise, rise, and gaze at my opulence. Haridas Thakur saw the supreme opulence of Krishna. He saw the Lord Chaitanya transforming into the Lord of his heart. And Haridas said, while weeping, he says, I am so insignificant. I am so fallen. But still, you are so kind that you never abandon any devotee that remembers you. Even if an insect remembers you, you will give that insect full shelter. Even if a worm remembers you, But Haridas, he said, I am so unfortunate. I never remember you. Dushasana, on the order of Duryodhana, dragged Draupadi into the assembly hall by the hair. And with his powerful hands, he was about to pull her sari right off. But Draupadi, she remembered you. She lifted her arms high in the air and she cried out, Hey Krishna, hey Govinda. And in remembering you, you appeared before her in the form of a sari to protect her. Prahlad Maharaj, his demoniac father, tried to kill him by throwing him off mountains, by throwing him in fire, by giving him deadly poison, by putting him in the pits of snakes. But Prahlad remembered you, so you were there to give him shelter. The Pandavas, when they were in Kamyavan, Durvas Muni came with 60,000 disciples. Duryodhana sent him. Because Durvas Muni is famous for cursing people who displease him. And he's very powerful. He's an Amsa of Shiva. I don't think any of you want to displease him. And Duryodhana said, oh, Pandavas, they have such good prasad, but you have to go to their place in Kamyavan where they're living in exile in the forest at this particular time. So Durvas Muni went, but they knew that that was the time the Pandavas already finished eating. And Draupadi had her mystical pot that could cook for as many people as she wanted to, provide for as many people as possible until she ate. And Duryodhana had spies. He knew just when she ate. So she had eaten. The pot was empty. Durvas Muni comes, says, I'm coming, all my disciples are here. We want prasad. Yudhisthira, what are we going to do? He said, why don't you take your bath first, and then, we'll make arrangements. So he went to take bath, and he said, Draupadi, make your pot, give prasad. And she said, I already ate. It won't work until tomorrow. Draupadi was remembering Krishna. Yudhisthira was remembering Krishna. They were in a desperate situation. And Haridas explained, Krishna came. And he said, Maharaj Yudhisthira, please give me prasad. And Maharaj Yudhisthira is already in so much anguish. He said, I can't, I'm going to get cursed by Durvas, and now my beloved Krishna's coming and wants prasad, and I don't have anything. Krishna said, just bring the pot. But the pot's empty, just bring the pot. So Krishna went to the pot, and he scrutinizingly examined the pot, and he saw one tiny little dried up piece of sabji stuck to the side of the pot. And he reached in and snatched it and ate it. What does that mean? What happened is, because when you water the root of the tree, every part of the tree is satisfied. Krishna is the root. Because he was satisfied by the devotion of the devotees remembering him, Durvas Muni, while he was in the Yamuna River, and all of his disciples, all of a sudden, their stomachs filled up and got swollen with food. They didn't know what was happening. And they started making all these sounds, like, when somebody who's just severely overeaten. And then Krishna told Bhima, because the Pandavas didn't know what was that. Krishna said, Bhima, go bring Durvas Muni. Bring your club with you and bring them. So Bhima comes with this, what's happening? We have no food. The pot's empty, and he's telling us to bring them. So he goes to the river, Yamuna, and Bhima says, he's holding club, he said, Yudhisthira is calling you, prasad is ready. That's what Krishna told him to say. And they said, Bhima, you go back, we'll be there in a few minutes. So Bhima went back, and Durvas Muni said, if Yudhishthira made a big feast and none of us could eat a single morsel, then Bhima might get angry, so we better run and get out of here. So they all ran away. This is the power of just remembering Krishna. And Ajamil, he had committed so many abominable activities. But at the end of his life, when he was seeing the Yamadutas pulling him to hell, he remembered his son. And his son's name was Narayan. And by reciting the name of Narayan, for a moment he remembered you and was delivered and eventually given the highest perfection of life. Please don't reject me, Haridas said, even though I never remember you. He was remembering Krishna 24 hours a day. But this was his humility. Lord Chaitanya said, please ask for a boon. Haridas said, I don't want to ask anything from you. But the Lord said, it will make me happy. Ask for a boon. Haridas said, if it pleases you to give me something, give me the food remnants of those who love you, your devotees. Let that be my worship, birth after birth after birth. That there's nothing more precious and valuable than the prasad that has come from the plates of your devotees. I am so unfortunate, Haridas said. I yearn for prestige. Please forgive me and just allow me to be even a dog near the house of your devotees, so that when they throw out their leaf plates, I could go and eat their remnants, my worshipable object in life. I beg you again and again, just let me be the servant of the servant who loves your devotees. And then Haridas said, I'm actually ashamed that I'm so fallen, and I am asking you for a boon that is so exalted as this. But still, if you want to grant me something, this is my heart's desire, to be the servant of the servant of the servant. When Haridas Thakur was speaking these words, Lord Chaitanya was revealing to the world how he was able to chant 300,000 names of Krishna every day. That's about 194 rounds, strictly. And still he would be out spreading Krishna consciousness wherever he went. Trinadapi sunichena, tarori vasihishnuna, amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Haridas was humble like a blade of grass, forgiving and tolerant like a tree, eager to offer all respect to others and not expect anything in return. When Haridas was being beaten through those 22 marketplaces, ultimately the executioners, they were exhausted. The whole day passed and they were beating him constantly. They said, Haridas, we can't move our arms anymore. And you're still living. Nobody ever lived past 3 marketplaces, 22. And you are looking at us as if you feel sorry for us. Now, because of you, we're going to have to die because we couldn't kill you. And Haridas said, oh, just see what I will do. And he closed his eyes and chanted Krishna's names, and all the symptoms of life disappeared from his body. So they picked up his body and brought it and threw it at the doorway of the king, and the king said, "What should we do with it? He's a Hindu, should we burn him?" The Brahmin said, "No, he's an untouchable, he cannot be burned. It will contaminate the sacred fire. He doesn't deserve it." "Well, he was born of another religion, we can bury him." They said, "No, then he will attain paradise. He cannot be buried." "So what should we do with him?" "Just throw him in the river like a piece of garbage." So they took his body and threw it in the river like a piece of garbage. He was dead, physically. And he floated downstream a ways, and then came back to life. He was in a state of samadhi where all the symptoms of his life disappeared. He was totally absorbed in the spiritual world. And he crawled out. He rose from the dead, literally. He crawled out of the Ganga. Now, most people would go to some hidden place. Somehow or other, I got away. You know what Haridas did? As soon as he came out of the Ganga, he walked immediately right back to Fuliagram, to the village, to talk to the king. He went right up to the king and offered all respect and honor to the king. And the king saw him. He said, "You were just dead. You were beaten." He said, "I forgive you. You forgive me." The king started crying and fell at Haridas's feet. The executioners came and fell at his feet. And Haridas embraced them with love. That's all he wanted, was to give them devotion. And if it took all that suffering to give them devotion for Haridas, that was a small price. It's that type of humility. We read about Trinada Bhisunichena, but Haridas Thakur is an example we cannot imitate. But to see the standard of his humility, of his forgiveness, of his devotion, and to hear these beautiful prayers of what he's wanting. He honors devotees so much that his worshipable object, birth after birth, he could be asking for anything from the Lord. He's just asking for some morsels of food that falls out of devotees' mouth when they eat prasad. It is that spirit that empowers him to chant the names of the Lord constantly. Lord Chaitanya said, Haridas, anyone who sees you, anyone who talks to you, anyone who remembers you, I will give the benediction of giving them Krishna, of giving them true devotion. That is the power of your love. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said something that really deeply affected me. He said, Haridas Thakur, you are my master. I am forever a prisoner in your heart. Now in this world, nobody wants to be a prisoner. But the Supreme Lord yearns to be a prisoner. Imprisoned by the chains of the love of his devotee within the devotees' hearts. And I give you, Haridas, the gift that without offense you will forever chant my holy names, and you will serve me, and you will serve all the devotees. The devotees lifted their arms and chanted, Jai, Jai. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught here that it is not by birth, it is not by opulence, it's simply by the intense desire to serve. that one can please the Supreme Lord. So many people were asking so many little benedictions. Some were asking, my father is unfavorable to the path of bhakti. Please make him a devotee. So be it. Some were praying for the welfare of their disciples or their relatives or their friends or the conditioned souls or their enemies. The interesting thing about this whole Mahaprakash Satpraharya Lila is nobody asked for anything for themselves. They were all asking for boons for other people. The only thing they wanted for themselves is the blessing to serve. The blessing to remember the Lord and to love the Lord and to serve in that spirit. As so many devotees were getting their desires fulfilled, Srivas Pandit asked, why are you not calling Mukunda? After all, he's your favorite kirtan singer. When Mukunda sings kirtan, our hearts melt. Your heart melts. You dance in ecstasy. We all dance in ecstasy. He brings Krishna in such a powerful way. Why are you neglecting him? And Lord Chaitanya said, do not plead on behalf of that wretch ever again. I said, what? What do you mean? He's dear to all of us. He's your devotee. And Lord Chaitanya said, do you know what kind of devotee he is? He's a hypocrite. He's the kind of devotee who takes straw between their teeth and touches your feet, and then in the next moment he picks up a metal rod and cracks you on the head with it. That is Mukunda. That is what he does to me. What are you talking about? He's hearing, he's chanting, he's serving, he's loving. We see him 24-hour days. He said, what happened is Mukunda, years before, he had a guru who was against devotion. He said, Mukunda will go to so many other people and be just like them. And if other people are decrying devotional service, he will sit there and listen. When he's with the devotees, he'll talk about bhakti. When he's with somebody else, he will follow what they're doing. Mukunda was crying. The Lord said, I never want to see his face again. And Mukunda cried out, will I ever be able to see the Lord again? And Srivas said, Mukunda's asking, will he ever be able to see you again? And Lord Chaitanya, in a very thunderous voice, said, he will see me only after 10 million births and deaths. When Mukunda heard that, he was thinking, the Lord has given his word that I will see him. I only have to wait 10 million births. That's such a small price to see the Lord. I will go on giving my life for the next 10 million births, 100% with the hope and the great anticipation of seeing him. And Mukunda started crying out, I will see, I will see. He was dancing and dancing in great ecstasy that in only 10 million births I will see the Lord. When Lord Chaitanya saw this, he started to smile. Just see the nature of his devotion. He sees such value and he has such faith that he's happy. Lord Chaitanya said, Mukunda, now, come, see me now. I want to give you myself now. But Mukunda couldn't hear him. He was enraptured by the idea of only 10 million births. He was dancing, chanting Krishna's name. I will see, I will see. Lord Chaitanya said to the devotees, bring him here. The devotee said, Mukunda, he wants to see you now. The Lord wants to see you now. And he was, I will see, I will see, I will see. No, now, after 10 million births, I will see. He wants to see. They had to pick him up and bring him there and put him right in front of Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya was blessing him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so happy. He said, Mukunda, because of your faith in my words, and because of your grateful heart and your eagerness to see me, even after that long of time, that has completely purified all your offenses. And actually, you never even made any offenses. Because you're such a lovely, humble devotee, that a devotee like you cannot make any offense. And Mukunda offered prayers. He said, actually, my Lord, I'm a great fool. I have no real faith in you. And because I don't have that true devotion, my life is as useless as a pile of ashes. But still, you are so kind that I'm feeling bliss because I see you. Duryodhana, Krishna showed his Virat Rupa, the universal form to Duryodhana. But he wasn't happy. He wanted to arrest you. Because even though he saw you, he felt no happiness.